Hey guys, welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel. My name is Kaylin. I'm a dual UK and American citizen. And honestly, I guarantee you in this video, you will learn at least one new thing. You are going to learn something weird about America that you didn't know before. I don't care how much you know about America. I guarantee you that you will not have heard of at least one of these things. So we're gonna start with the weirdest ones. I'm not gonna make you wait. I'm like nervous to share. I feel like I'm outing America right now. But okay. Number one, there is, how do I phrase this? Okay. There is a concept in America that was particularly popular in the early 2000s. And we can do a whole video digging into American versus UK approaches towards religion. There is a thing called Judgement House. During Halloween, in certain parts of America, religion and Halloween don't mix. America is a very religious country. And for some people, going trick-or-treating, which is very popular in America, or celebrating Halloween does not align with their religion. So instead of going to a haunted house, there is something called Judgement House. And Judgement House is held at a church. And they define themselves as a walk-through gospel presentation about people's choices and the consequences of those choices. Right, okay. This is unfiltered, so I don't know who I'm worried about offending. Judgement House is the craziest thing I've been to in my entire life. And you don't realize this until years later. It is a walk-through gospel presentation. But what they don't tell you is it is essentially, it's held at a church. And it's a religious haunted house. And what that means is that when you show up, there's always some sort of disaster that first starts in this live action. So a plane crash, a car crash, the well has been poisoned in the town, whatever it is. And you show up and you're in the middle of this chaos that they're putting on, this show. And essentially, the concept is that both of the people in this situation, there's always two people, have died. And what happens when you die? That's not what this YouTube channel is about. But in Judgement House, the idea is that you either go to heaven or you go to hell. And so what happens is you learn in this walkthrough presentation, and when I say presentation, think about the most dramatic, like American acting all around you. Like they've gone full out. There are, if it's a plane crash, like there's plane crash sounds, there's sounds of people screaming. And, one person is a Christian, essentially, and the other person isn't. And you follow them through their journey to heaven or to hell. And as you walk through, the rooms are all decorated. Can you decorate like hell? I don't know. This video is going to be a lot longer than expected because I feel uncomfortable. Okay. So you follow the one person through this walkthrough scene to a room in the church decorated like hell. And you essentially see them being banished to hell for the rest of eternity. Scary enough as it is. Like the devil himself, I think, is there dressed like one of the church people dress up like the devil. And there's like fire, and then you go to the other person's experience, their walkthrough experience, and they're Christian, so they get to go to heaven. So you walk into this room that's like white and airy, and someone from the church is dressed up like Jesus, welcoming them in. And then at the end, you're asked if you would like to become a Christian. Now, I'm trying to tread so lightly. This is not about my opinion this is not about religion. This is simply about whatever religion you're a part of. This is insane. This is insane. It's insane. Have I been to one? Yes, I have, because I grew up in suburban America in the early 2000s. but it's in place of Halloween. It takes place on Halloween night. I should have mentioned that before. So it is meant to terrify you, similar to ghouls and goblins and witches and whatever, but it terrifies you into this like religious experience, because you don't want to end up like that person that you literally just saw being banished to hell. If I attended one of these as an adult, I'd be very curious how I felt about it. My experience is growing up, so I was younger. I was probably like under 10 maybe, or around 10. So this was terrifying. But yeah, you probably never heard of Judgement House if you're not from the US. And even if you are from the US, you probably still also haven't heard of it. Okay, the next thing on my list is equally as crazy. I don't know if there's an official name for it. There probably is. But essentially, there is a push in American high schools. I'm not sure if this is still widespread. This was when I was in high school. Americans have a prom at the end of every year, and it's for typically the juniors and seniors, so 17 and 18-year-olds. You are not legally allowed to drink at this age in the US, but they know that people might be doing this underage. They might be drinking after the prom, and they wanted to do, this company or organization wanted to essentially scare kids into not drinking and driving after prom, which we agree with. Sounds like a good thing to, you know, ward off. We don't want that to happen. But the way that they essentially do this is the juniors and seniors were called out of class on a random day before the prom, taken to the football fields, because almost every American high school has a giant football field. Yes, it's true. And you see this like completely wrecked car. Now, they've got the drama kids. At least one of them is the person that has died. And so this, you essentially start this presentation at the moment, like right after the crash. And again, you're all like on the football field. There's the car that's like burning or whatever. There's the kid who's playing the dead person, and their friends who are their friends in real life, who are playing their friends. And essentially you see this entire plot line of the kid dying, your classmate dying, and the police coming. So your actual police people that you're familiar with from your town come. A hearse takes off the dead kid from the field. They get the parents, the real parents. This is like, it's fake, but it's the real friends, the real parents get involved, pretending to mourn their child who has died from drinking and driving after the prom. And there's this whole big like presentation on the field. But it doesn't end there. After this person gets taken away in a hearse, and the parents are like screaming and crying, and the friends, and there's this whole dramatic scene, you go back to class. But do you know what has to happen for someone that dies? There's a funeral. So I don't think we actually went to a pretend funeral, but I remember they played over the TVs that are in all of the classrooms a funeral video memorializing this classmate of yours that has died in the prom car crash from drinking. And it's effective. I'm not even saying that it's not effective. It's just, when you realize, I told somebody, I was like, oh yeah, then we had this presentation on the fields, and then I had to mourn my classmate who didn't actually die, but we like pretended they died. And then the parents like gave a pretend speech at their funeral or whatever. It's just something that wouldn't happen in the UK. This video was just American things that British people would find weird. I'm not saying it's not effective. It's just, it's a little strange. So yeah, that was my high school experience. Okay, speaking of high school, the next thing on my list is homecoming. Now, this doesn't have as much drama to it, but a lot of people don't understand homecoming and what homecoming means in the US. Homecoming is for US high schools. It is a concept that is in the beginning of the year. It kind of kicks off the football season. Yes, American high school football is like a big thing. And there's a homecoming week, is what they call it. It's sort of like a spirit week, a pep rally week. Each day will have a different theme. So it might be pajama day or decades day or dress like what you want to be when you grow up day. So the whole school's getting involved in this kind of like spirit activities. And there's typically a homecoming parade through the town, through the streets surrounding the high school, where the like people in the town will come out and watch the homecoming parade. And it's essentially the clubs and organizations and different classes. So the freshman class, the sophomore class, junior and senior, they will each have like a float and do a parade. And then it all finishes on the Friday night. The Friday night, there will be the homecoming football game. So that is, it doesn't have to be the first game of the season, but it is dedicated as the homecoming game for that school. And then there's a homecoming dance, typically on the Saturday, where all of the kids can come to the dance. So homecoming is like the school year is starting, the football season is starting, everything's coming home. And also just an excuse to like have pep rallies. And I understand that if you're British and you're listening to this, you are so confused right now. And this is so not your experience of what happens, but this is what we do in suburban America. So that's kind of, if you hear homecoming, the homecoming dance, the homecoming game, it means less than you think it does. It's just kind of like a fun week and like to kick things off. The next thing on my list is tailgating. So if you've seen tailgating before, you might think like, oh, a couple cars get together and you have like food and drinks outside of the back of the car before a game. Before, in America, it would be before an American football game. But that means that you've never been tailgating in Texas. So, and in other places where sports are very, very, very popular. Tailgating is more than just a couple cars. It actually has less to do with that. You can have that, but that's like baby's version of tailgating. Okay, so here's my example. I went to a Texas A&M football game with some of my best friends, and they do tailgating before the game. The game, I think, started maybe like 3 or 4 or something. So tailgating starts from the morning, but you don't just show up the morning of. You have to claim your area, which they have to do, I think, the day before. You have to go and someone, correct me if I'm wrong, Americans, but I think someone had to like set off a horn or something to be like, go, like claim your space. So you claim your space, which is not just your car. You park your car. You have like a gazebo tent. People bring TVs to watch other games on. You bring tons of food. You bring your barbecue, and you go before the game and you do this like tailgating experience. So yes, you are having food and drinks with people before the game, but it's like next level, and people are sharing stuff as well. So it's not just like you do have your own little area, but people are sharing food with other people. They have food trucks giving out food, like often for free. That would never happen in the UK. And it's just this like communal atmosphere where some people don't even go to the game. They just go for the tailgating experience. If you have never been to America, you have to get yourself somehow involved in a tailgating experience, because honestly, it's so hard to even explain. It's so beyond what would happen here in the UK. And if you're thinking, like, picture what you're thinking when I say tailgating, and now I want you to times that by 10. Times it by 10, the amount of people, the amount of food, the amount of big screen TVs, the amount of barbecues that are all like in this area on game day. Next up is a homeowners association, or an HOA. These are very popular in the American suburbs. And an HOA is the kind of neighborhood group that's in charge of your specific neighborhood. They have specific like bylaws. They have laws about, how high your grass can be in some of them. or what colors you can paint. It's sort of like how a council would have jurisdiction over those kinds of things in the UK, but US homeowners associations, they, as Americans do, take it to the next level. So there can be a lot of drama involved in homeowners associations because there can be a lot of rules, but they're trying to keep everybody's property values up. There's always going to be the one person who has way too much time on their hands, who is somehow in charge. And it's just a very American concept of having an HOA or a homeowners association. Typically, there will be a fee. Typically, it will be mandatory, but not in all. There are places where there is like a voluntary HOA and you don't have to pay. So just the people who do pay, I guess, are supporting everybody through it. And not every single house or every single neighborhood is within the jurisdiction of a homeowners association. So it does vary. And I can do an entire video on HOAs for my American channel, but not really a concept here in the UK, so I thought I'd mention it in this list. Okay, that brings me to the end of this video. Was I right in that you learned at least one thing that you hadn't heard of before about America? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.